President Trump has declared the ceasefire with Iran is officially over, igniting a wave of military strikes and dire consequences. With tensions boiling over, here is what we know about this shocking escalation and what could happen next. The immediate future remains highly uncertain, with several potential developments likely to unfold following recent escalations in U.S.-Iran relations. President Trump has explicitly threatened further U.S. strikes on Iran, indicating a potential intensification of military action in the coming days. This aggressive stance is rooted in long-standing tensions over Iran's nuclear ambitions, which many believe pose a threat to regional and global security, as well as its support for militant groups like Hezbollah and various factions in Iraq and Syria. Analysts predict that Iran may retaliate with additional attacks on U.S. allies or interests in the region, potentially including cyber attacks, proxy strikes, or missile launches targeting American military installations. Such retaliation could significantly destabilize an already volatile region, where numerous factions and state actors are vying for influence and control. The volatility in oil prices is expected to continue, with potential spikes if conflict disrupts shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial passage for global oil transport. Disruptions here could lead to increased fuel prices worldwide, impacting economies still recovering from the pandemic-induced downturn. Furthermore, NATO and European allies may reaffirm their support for collective defense while distancing themselves from Trump's unilateral actions, complicating the alliance's response to Iranian provocations. Meanwhile, some Western nations might attempt to reopen diplomatic channels to prevent further escalation, though the chances of successful negotiations appear slim given the entrenched positions on both sides. As the situation unfolds, the pressing question remains: how far will President Trump go in his military response, and what will be the ultimate cost of this crisis for global stability? The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether renewed diplomatic efforts can materialize or if military confrontation will dominate the agenda, shaping the future landscape of international relations and security. The escalation of tensions leading to this moment has been brewing for months, culminating in a series of alarming incidents. Recent skirmishes in the Strait of Hormuz, where Iranian forces targeted commercial and U.S.-linked vessels, served as an immediate trigger for U.S. military strikes. The collapse of the Memorandum of Understanding, which had allowed Iran limited oil exports under U.S. sanctions, ended a fragile diplomatic arrangement that had existed for years, intensifying hostilities between the two nations. President Trump's combative stance at the NATO summit, where he criticized allies and demanded increased defense spending, contrasts sharply with his aggressive actions against Iran, revealing a complex geopolitical strategy. Furthermore, Iran has been grappling with significant internal turmoil, particularly following the recent death of its supreme leader, which has created a political vacuum. This situation has possibly emboldened hardliners within the Iranian regime to respond forcefully to perceived threats from the West. As tensions escalated, the historical patterns of U.S.-Iran relations, marked by confrontation and deep-seated mistrust, have reached a boiling point, leading to the dangerous situation we see today. The ramifications of these developments extend far beyond the immediate region. They threaten to disrupt global oil markets, to the men, which rely heavily on the Strait of Hormuz for transit, and could provoke wider military conflicts involving U.S. allies in the Middle East. The potential for miscalculation looms large, as both sides navigate a landscape fraught with risk. Looking ahead, the future of U.S.-Iran relations remains uncertain. Diplomatic efforts may be necessary to de-escalate the situation, but the lack of trust and the influence of hardliners on both sides present significant challenges. A critical window exists for renewed dialogue, but it will require concessions that neither side may be willing to make. The escalation of U.S.-Iran tensions marks a critical juncture in global geopolitics, with far-reaching implications for energy markets and international relations. Recently, the revocation of Iran's oil-selling license has intensified fears of conflict, particularly in the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is crucial for global oil transport, with about 30% of the world's seaborne oil passing through it. As tensions rise, oil prices have surged, contributing to instability in global stock markets and raising alarms about energy security. The backdrop to this crisis includes a history of U.S.-Iran hostilities, marked by sanctions and military posturing. The current situation is exacerbated by aggressive rhetoric from the Trump administration, which has taken a hardline stance against Tehran. This has not only increased the likelihood of direct conflict between the U.S. and Iran, but has also drawn in regional players such as Israel and various Gulf states. The attacks on U.S. military bases in Bahrain and Kuwait serve as a stark reminder of the potential for escalation and the involvement of proxy forces that could widen the conflict. The economic ramifications of this escalating crisis are profound. Rising oil prices are likely to trigger inflationary pressures across the globe, directly impacting the cost of living for citizens in Europe, Asia, and beyond. Increased energy costs can lead to higher prices for goods and services, straining household budgets and potentially dampening economic growth. Furthermore, the diplomatic fallout from the U.S. approach has strained relationships with European allies who may perceive Trump's unilateral decisions as undermining the collective defense focus of NATO. Such tensions could weaken international coalitions that are essential for addressing global security concerns. Looking ahead, the situation remains precarious. The U.S. administration's next steps will be crucial in determining whether these tensions can be de-escalated or if they will spiral into a broader conflict. The potential for a multinational response to protect energy routes and maintain stability in the region cannot be underestimated. As the geopolitical landscape shifts, the world may see increased calls for diplomatic engagement to prevent an all-out crisis that could reshape alliances and economic dynamics for years to come. On the morning of July 8, 2026, at the NATO summit in Turkey, President Donald Trump made a startling announcement. The Memorandum of Understanding with Iran was over. He cited recent Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz as the catalyst for this decision. This pivotal moment came amidst rising tensions in the region, where Iran had been accused of escalating its aggressive maritime activities, threatening not only U.S. interests, but also international shipping routes, crucial for global trade. Following this declaration, the United States launched new military strikes across Iran, marking an unprecedented escalation from previous limited engagements. The U.S. also revoked Iran's license to sell oil on the global market, a move that threatens its economic lifeline and could destabilize global oil prices, impacting economies far beyond the Middle East. In a swift response, Iran's Revolutionary Guards launched a series of attacks targeting 85 U.S. military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. This represents one of the most extensive coordinated retaliatory assaults by Iran against American interests, showcasing its military capabilities and resolve. The strikes are indicative of Iran's willingness to confront U.S. forces directly, emphasizing the increasing volatility in the region. Trump further escalated tensions by threatening additional strikes on Iran that same night, signaling the potential for full-scale conflict. This rapid sequence of events marks a stark departure from earlier, more restrained U.S. military actions against Iran, indicating a significant shift in strategy and approach. The implications of this escalation are profound. Analysts warn that the renewed hostilities could lead to a broader conflict that might engulf neighboring countries and disrupt global oil supplies. The situation poses a challenge for NATO allies, who must navigate the complexities of regional security and their own national interests. As diplomatic channels appear to close, the risk of miscalculation looms large. Looking forward, the international community must brace for a potentially prolonged conflict, as both sides seem unwilling to de-escalate. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether this confrontation will spiral into a larger war or if any diplomatic efforts can be revived amidst the growing tensions. As tensions rise and military actions escalate, what do you think will happen next? Will this lead to a broader conflict, or could diplomatic solutions emerge? Share your predictions in the comments and subscribe for more in-depth analyses.